Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Chaps Chatting Champs. Good morning, Brant.
Good morning, Josh.
And good morning, everybody.
Josh, did you know that so far in Marvel Champions, not counting the core box heroes, we have 9.75 heroes released in Aggression,
Mm.
8.75 heroes released in Justice, 9.25 heroes released in Leadership, and 10.25 heroes released in Protection.
I have to say, when you started that off with fractions, I got very confused. I actually did know not the exact numbers, but I knew that there were fewer Justice heroes because of how Adam Warlock sort of took up a spot and Spider Woman was sort of a pseudo Justice hero. Because when I did my hero rankings recently, I split them up by aspect and was like, "Oh, there's only like 8 Justice heroes and 10 and 11 of the other ones." And it was because it seemed like the Justice slot always ended up falling to the multi-aspect hero, which is probably why Justice is a little bit underdeveloped compared to the other aspects. Perhaps there just hasn't been as many heroes that were fully released in Justice.
Yeah, so if you go back, so obviously the decimals come in from Spider Woman and from Adam Warlock. I didn't give Gamora a decimal. That was going
Hmm.
to get a little complex because she's got like a couple protection cards and a couple justice cards, and then
Right.
doing that out of 25, I figured was a little too technical. So I
Hmm.
just put Gamora straight into Aggression where she came from. Then the core box heroes, you could add another 1.25. There's four aspects and five of them. So if you divide them up, you'd end
Hmm.
up at 11, uh, 10, 10 and a half, and 11 and a half. So protection is the most prevalent of the aspects.
And I would argue it's the most developed. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And then in the core box, wasn't two of the precons were meant to be aggression, right?
Yeah, yeah, so you could do that. I actually didn't go back to look at them and whatnot, but yeah, it's kind of interesting, and we'll see where things go. I think we now have player side schemes, and I think that really gives Justice a boost.
It does. And the fact that one of the heroes in the next box is Justice means we'll get two Justice heroes in this cycle. So that'll be good too.
There you go. Hey, speaking of core box heroes, that's our discussion for today. Look at that
Yeah, nice segue.
segue. All right, so we
Professional
got
around
our
here.
8-minute topic today. I know this episode 4. We are with it now.
We're
We
dialing
got the
it in,
format.
folks.
Wait till the week we break the format, right?
Yeah, goodness.
So I want to talk about core box heroes. I see a little bit of chatter. I wouldn't say it's over the top, but I see people saying like, "Oh, it's somewhat." There's a bit of a shame that the core box heroes aren't as playable, or these X-Men characters are so fun. Like now, wish they would update the core box ones. But I don't know about you, Josh, but I still play the core box heroes quite a bit.
Well, I don't know if I would say I play them quite a bit, but I definitely don't have the negative. Maybe negative is a strong word, but kind of what you say. Like occasionally, you'll see people sort of wish list that they were a little bit better, but I guess I haven't thought that because yeah, I do still really like. I played Spider Man recently. I still really like Captain Marvel, Black Panther. I think She Hulk's gotten a lot more interesting. So Iron Man's kind of the one that for me, um, I don't know if falling behind is the right word because I never really liked him that much to begin with. But yeah, I think the core box heroes are great on the whole.
So yeah, so just so we clarify those ones, you were kind of going through them. I try to look for their unique flavor. Like, do they still stand out as unique? And they each still have something that's pretty unique to them. I mean, Spider-Man gets to draw that extra card every time he
Mhm.
gets attacked, which is pretty cool, and it allows him to play some cards like bait and switch or toe to toe to get extra attacks.
Right.
We're not always trying to be attacked by the villain, but there are definitely ways of chump blocking and things like that just to get extra cards
Mhm.
to do those things. Black Panther has the Vibranium. Now, we've seen a lot of double resource and even triple resource cards in other hero kits, including Captain Marvel, and has the suit that he can build up. But of course, he's the only one I think that has printed Retaliate 1 right there on his face.
Yes. Yeah, Captain America basically has it, but yeah, Black Panther is the only one that has it printed.
And then, there's interesting things like Black Panther doesn't have an alter ego ability,
Mhm.
but when you get what is the
The Golden
city?
City.
The Golden City down, I mean,
It's
that's the
awesome.
strongest alter ego power you can have.
Yep.
It just says you get 4 cards when you flip
Right.
to alter ego. And of course, I'm saying four because you draw two
Flip
when you flip
down and
down and
flip
two when
up.
you
Yep.
flip back up. So that's kind of neat. Iron Man, obviously, he kind of really peaked with all the tech coming out. We saw
Hmm.
tech relatively quickly. I mean, going back in time of the game, it feels like there's tech at the time. It felt like we were waiting for it to kind of come out slowly. But Iron Man still stands as one of those heroes that once he's built can deal the most damage.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. When I say I don't like Iron Man, part of it is just I haven't played him in literally years. But even early on, for some reason, as much as his gameplay should appeal to me, I don't know if it was just because you're kind of doing the same thing with him every time, though you could argue that's true of a lot of heroes. For whatever reason, he just never has appealed to me too much. But I definitely think he's gotten a lot stronger. You know, like you said, we got energy barriers right away with Ms. Marvel.
Yeah,
Though protection still needed some help in other ways to make that part better. But yeah, the tech has definitely drastically improved him. I think even in solo, you could hope to flip to hero on the second turn.
right. And some of what it is, when we're looking at some of the heroes, I think Iron Man's tough because generally you're going to stay down that first turn.
Hmm.
And we've got a lot of nasty villains that don't really allow you to do that.
Oh yeah, especially in the core set. Like you can't do that against Rhino, or you just have to get lucky and hope that you survive. Claw, it's not the end of the world if you lose that main scheme, but it gets harder. Same with Ultron. You're definitely going to lose it against Ultron. And then the scenario is just harder from there on out. So yeah, he was not well positioned for solo in the core set. I wouldn't say multiplayer, sure, but what do
Yeah.
I know about that?
So then She-Hulk's an interesting one because she was definitely maligned in the core box. She was one that was
Hmm.
tricky, and there were definitely people that liked her, but she still stands with like the best kill card in the game. And of course, obviously, we quickly got endurance. Was endurance also added in Miss Marvel's pack?
Yes. Yep.
So as soon as we got endurance, that allowed her to do the full 15 damage or whatever it can do with Gamma Slam. It
Hmm.
is a tricky card to pull off because it's so expensive, and her four hand size kind of leads to that. But she really was the first hero that wanted to
Right.
flip, 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 flip. I mean, Captain Marvel's definitely in that boat too, I would say, but
Hmm.
not as much so. And I think that was a tricky part of her was realizing she's just going to be a four hand size temporarily, and then you want to flip back. And she had the object to kind of help you get that. And some of her thwarting cards aren't the best.
Right.
The legal
Yeah.
practice, I think, is not a favorite.
Yeah, the fact that for zero, it doesn't even remove one until you start discarding cards feels definitely a little overcosted. I think part of the problem too with the core set heroes, and again, this is always my solo perspective speaking, but it's Rhino. I think Rhino casts such a shadow over how the heroes play because you do want to flip. I think alter ego, and that's a whole separate conversation, but is a big part of the game that got completely ignored early on because of the way Rhino works. And we just played Rhino over and over again. He's the first one, and you just can't flip. And She-Hulk really wants to flip. So combined with that, and that four hand size kind of left a sour taste, was probably what really held her back early on, I think.
Yeah, I could see that. And then I feel like, other than the popularity of Spider-Man just as a superhero, I think he's the most popular superhero.
I
But I
think so.
feel like Captain Marvel is probably considered a favorite and still kind of one of the strongest heroes in the game, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. She definitely holds up power wise.
And that ability to have triple resources, she can come out of the gate strong, she can heal herself, she's got card draw for you and your friends. I feel
Hmm.
like she's kind of that still feels very unique. I hate that term, very unique. That still feels unique.
Yeah.
um, and whatnot. So I think one of the questions is: are they still powerful? Are the core box heroes still on power?
Right. Well, in my opinion, yes, definitely, because the nature of this game is such that they can always go in and release cards that just work well with certain heroes, and they've all gotten a boost. She-Hulk gets a boost from anything that allows her to confuse. So Professor X just boosted, everybody. But of course, she also got
Right.
the limitless staminas and the unshakables from SPDR. So that solves a lot of her issues, gives her even more tempo, and helps her to avoid getting stunned and confused. Iron Man, all the tech and then repurpose is just huge for him. Spider-Man and Iron Man both got ingenuity. Captain Marvel has always been great. I don't know if there's anything that's too specifically. Oh,
Shield.
well, the shield stuff. Yeah. Yep. Sharon Carter, even if all you use is Sharon Carter, I think it's worth it just for Alpha Flight Station. So, that's the nature of these games. You said a lot of people sometimes speak a little bit ill of the core set heroes, and I see people say like, "Oh, I wish they would re-release them." That they need a refresh because they feel old. But I don't think that's going to happen because the designers of these games prefer to do that with just new aspect and basic cards, and you can go
Mhm.
back and use them, and they're fun and interesting to play in new ways. So yeah, I think power wise, I think it's difficult to quantify exactly how those go, but they don't feel weak to me. Like not compared to some of the other heroes. Maybe Valkyrie's not the best example, but she doesn't feel particularly strong, and she's
Right.
a newer hero. So not every hero comes out feeling stronger than others. So I think the core set heroes play pretty well.
And then to me, I think the next question is, are they still fun? And that is a definite yes for me. I
Oh,
mean, I
100, yeah.
love playing Captain Marvel and passing everything out to everybody, or just filling your deck with lightning bolts. I love Spider-Man protection. I mean, is one of the
Hmm.
best things in the game, and that is kind of,
Agreed.
we've kind of watched that progress all the way along, right? Because Spider-Man was the first three defense hero. So they're still super fun, and there's a lot of stuff you can do with those vibranium cards. I actually
Hmm.
think one of the things about Black Panther that gets a little confused is Wakanda Forever is like an always efficient card. You
Hmm.
get one suit piece down, and it's an efficient card.
Yeah, it's 1 for 4 damage, 2 threat removal, 2
Right.
heal and 2 damage. Yeah,
Right. So it's, it doesn't need all the pieces to be an effective card. It's just, you want to see him do a whole bunch of stuff. So you're thinking about when the suit comes down, and then it's ridiculous. Then it's endgame, right?
right. Yeah, I
For all those
think
kind of things.
with these card games, we often get so focused on the potential, on the ceiling, that we don't notice that when something's still pretty good, that it's still pretty good. We think, what's the maximum this thing can do? And that's what I'm going to sort of base my feelings on it about. But it's like, well, like you said, it's still pretty good if you've only got one or two.
For sure. Cool. So I want to hear from the people. So I'll give you a challenge to play a core box hero against a modern villain, however you want to define modern based on your collection, whether it be Mutant Genesis or Mojo, or maybe whatever you're up to collecting so far. But take one of those core box heroes or a pair of them with a friend, whatever it is, and let us know who you played and how much fun you had with that core box hero.
Yeah, I think that'll be a really fun. I definitely want to do that too. One other thought I had real quick before we move on is I know that there are a lot of people out there, and I couldn't even begin to guess the numbers, but there are a lot of people out there who don't build new decks every time they play heroes. They either keep the
Mm,
precons built or they sort of have their whole collection mixed through everybody and they've got an okay deck built for every single hero. I wonder if that's where some of the mild negativity towards the core box heroes come from, because certainly a newer precon probably feels a little bit better than say those core set precons. So if you're playing the Spider-Man precon all the time and then you buy Wolverine, well, certainly Spider-Man
right.
looks very poor by comparison. So I
Yeah.
wonder if that's where some of that comes from too.
That makes sense. I can see that.
So then are we ready for some this or that?
I'm
Center
ready.
yourself, find your center. Got some good ones.
All right.
All right, here we go. This or that. Sloths or kangaroos?
Sloths.
Cable or domino?
Domino.
Same. Flux or munchkin?
Flux.
Hmm. Shield strategy or perfect defense strategy?
Perfect defense.
Guardians 3 or the Marvels?
Well,
I know.
Guardians 3.
Yeah. Shadow of the past or under fire?
I think I'd much rather see it under fire, but the joke is to draw the shadow of the past off the under fire, right?
Oh, that would be so brutal. Vampires or werewolves?
Hmm. Werewolves.
Yeah, me too, actually. Stun or confuse?
Confuse.
Nintendo or Sega?
Nintendo.
Last Jedi or not Last Jedi?
Last Jedi.
May or may not have been based on a conversation from Discord this morning.
There you go.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for episode 4 of Chaps Chatting Champs.
Have a good week, Josh,
Have a good week, Brant.
and have a good week, everybody.